Welcome, you're watching India Market Close, and it's looking like an afternoon of a muted kind of a consolidated move on the key indices. The Nifty now in the positive territory, but it's been circling in a range. The Nifty and the Sensex both. Broader markets, though, showing some kind of movement. Don't mistake this for a day that has not been completely newsy and has not seen action. That's not the case at all. So much has been happening, from sugar stocks that have been reacting negatively to the government increasing FRPs for sugar cane. Grasim has been the big story, as has Asian Paints, and we'll get through all of that. But you would not perhaps see that if you looked only at what the indices were doing. So the broader market's performing relatively better than your top lines. But let's pull up the heat maps as well to see what has been working in today's market and what that story is panning out to be. Now, at the bottom of the barrel in that sense is BPCL, and OMCs have been stuck there over the last couple of sessions because of an anticipation and uncertainty on whether most of the gains have already been priced in. Two notes are backing that feeling as well. Hero Motor is sliding once again. This has been a continued trajectory that we have seen over the last, most of this trading week actually, on concerns of slowing sales compared to its peers, but it's the banks today that are weighing down the market, which is otherwise not really so negative. HDFC Bank would be one of them, and if I pull up top contributors to the Nifty decline, you will definitely see HDFC Bank in that list. So would a Kotak Mahindra Bank make it to that list. There you have it. HDFC Bank, pulling down 42 points all by itself, as is Kotak Mahindra Bank, SBI. So banks are weak. Tech is doing okay. Relatively in the market today. ITC is up because of a news report that it's eyeing a stake in Pratap Snacks. Advanced decline ratio, just let's take a look at that very quickly and see what's happening there. And you're seeing the kind of volatility on a day like that. We've started on a positive note, quickly turned the tide, and then you've seen that gap narrowing all through round. Not too much of a difference right now. Your bulls have a slight edge, but that could truly change. So range-bound, volatile trade with a bit of consolidation. But like I said, don't mistake it for a day with not too much news, because so much has been happening. And Harsh has most of those details, isn't it, Harsh?
Well, yes, absolutely, Tamanna. Let's pull up some stocks which are really buzzing in trade today. And let me start off first with ABB, which hit it out of the park yesterday. Has done that today as well. There you go. 8% higher on ABB, 9% higher on South Indian Bank. Rights issue at 22 rupees a share. Currently sitting at 35 rupees a share. So fundraising, never a bad thing for a bank from a perspective that it means growth is here. I'm going to quickly move on though. You have the likes of an NBCC, Salasa Techno, Home First. Home First, of course, and a lot of this being also order wins. Home First on the back of the fact that they now can get into the insurance distribution business. Oil India on the back of favorable note from Motilal Oswal is buzzing. Outside of that, notes continue to trickle through. You have Z Entertainment as well, which I want to mark out today, and Paytm. Those are the two stocks that have dominated headlines over the last week or so. But look at the way both of those are moving. Not much of a movement in both of those today, and that's why they make it to our stock list. Let me also take it to Pratap Snacks ITC. Pratap Snacks up and away in trade on the back of a possible 45% plus stake that ITC is going to pick up, if at all, basis media reports, of course. Then you have the likes of a Eureka Forbes, which is buzzing on the back of news. You also have MTAR, NIBE. Now, some names within the space pack buzzing because 100% FDI allowed post approvals, of course, within the space pack. And you have MTAR as well as MIBE, both of which are up and away in trade. Last off, we have Bajaj Hindustan, Uttam Sugar, Sri Renuka, all of the sugar stocks which are in focus on the back of change in MSP for sugarcane, and that will impact some of those stocks. And you'll see 2.5% knock on Bajaj Hindustan as a back on the back of that, Tamanna.
In fact, let's take that conversation forward, and I'm glad you wrapped up that entire relay of stocks, Harsh, with sugar stocks, because we're speaking now with Atul Chaturvedi, Executive Chairman of Sri Renuka Sugar, to get a sense of the extent of the hit that we could see. So, Mr. Chaturvedi, thank you so much for joining us here on NDTV Profit this afternoon. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mr. Chaturvedi?
Yeah, there's hardly. Your voice is very, very feeble.
Oh, all right. I'm not feeling very feeble, but I'll try and be louder and hopefully.
Now it's much better. Now it's much
hopefully, our producers can turn the volume up. Okay, so let me understand from you how much of a problem is the FRP increasing by 25 rupees. To put it in perspective, I believe last year the increase was 10 rupees. It's 8% higher than what was expected in maybe that was on par in a pre-election season. What is the margin hit for a Sri Renuka Sugar?
No, I don't think there's any margin hit going to be there. This increase is going to be effective 1st of October. It is for the new season. So as far as the current season of current crushing period is concerned, it will have practically no impact. It might actually end up having a little positive impact in the sense that we were earlier anticipating that the production in the country is going to be anywhere between 29 and 29.5 million tons, which now seems to be closer to about 32 million tons. And that was putting a little pressure on the sugar values currently. So I think this is a positive step. And secondly, what we also anticipate is that the farmers will now be not discouraged in planting more and more cane, and with the next year's monsoon likely to be a normal or a good one, it's a better time for the sugar industry, contrary to what many people in the who are covering this sector think. So I think it's a positive sign. If the farmers are going to be doing well, the industry is also going to do well.
I understand what you're saying, Mr. Chaturvedi, and you're right. You have to look at it holistically. If 5 crore farmers do get a higher remuneration, that's good. So it's not black and white. But having said that, the fact is that your input costs are going to go up. There is no visibility on whether you can charge more or whether the MSP will go up. I could stick my neck out and say it's unlikely right now that before an election, any government will want to increase the minimum, sale price of sugar. So how is this not going to impact your margins, and why would you say it's positive?
No, at this point of time, the FRP increase has not come. It is going to be coming effective 1st of October with the start of the new crushing season. There's a lot many months in between, and by the time the next crushing season starts, the elections will be over and done with. And we are positive and we are 100% sanguine that the MSP will also get increased. And secondly, the price of ethanol will also get increased, because the understanding all along has been whatever is the FRP increase, there will be a simultaneous increase in ethanol price as well as in MSP as well. So we are not too worried on that count.
Okay.
And it's still quite a way off.
Okay.
So whatever is being planned or whatever has been announced, it's normally this time of the year you don't have this announcement for FRP, but this year things are a little different in the sense that the farmers' agitation is already on in northern India, and the government wants to send a signal across to the cane farmers that of UP that your interest will definitely be protected, and the cane farmers' interest is also linked with the industry's interest. So I'm sure ये जो चोली दामन का साथ है, we can't wish one away.
No, I understand that, and I think it's very clear why this is happening now. The question is that how do you see production panning out, Mr. Chaturvedi? Because, like you said, production levels have been above expectation. That also impacts prices. So how do you see the situation shaping up to October?
No, our crushing season is likely to be over and done with by mid of April this year. And earlier we were anticipating a crop of about 29 or 29.5 million tons. But we had not factored in the wonderful rains during the month of October and November. And we were basing all our decisions basis the lack of rains in August. But now what we are seeing, and the crushing season is almost something like 75-80% over, that the sugar production is likely to be closer to about 32 million tons, and add to that another 2 million tons of diversion towards ethanol. So in terms of sucrose, what we are talking is something like 34 million tons. And it's important that government diverts some more of juice into ethanol, so that we don't need to carry the baggage of excess sugar into the next year. So I think, and secondly, with the increase of FRP already announced by the government for the next season, I think this will sufficiently enthuse the farmers to stick to cane production and vis-a-vis the competing crops, because the farmers are getting very good returns, the payments are in time, and so I think it's a win-win situation for both the farmers as well as the industry.
Sure, yep. Mr. Chaturvedi, Harsh also joining in. I want to try and understand, where does ethanol production go from here? Are you expecting to see a bump up from here? Of course, the base has flattened a little bit, if I can call it, if not fallen, but it's flattened of sorts. Do you expect it to start to creep up, and by when?
No, we would want it to happen right away, because currently the crushing season is on, and the juice will only be available only during the period when the crushing season is on. And the government had based their calculations basis that sugar production is going to be very low, which is now subsequently is now getting proved that it is not correct. So I think the government also needs to take a course correction, and we've been requesting the government that you need to come up with more allocation of more diversion of cane juice and B-heavy molasses into ethanol. Otherwise, we'll end up creating more and more sugar at the end of the year. So, which is not going to help anyone, because the government, as a country, we need only about maximum 5.5 to 6 million tons of stock levels, which is sufficient for about 3 months. So beyond that, having stocks doesn't make sense.
Sure, understood. Thank you so much for all of that perspective. Sugar stocks buzzing today on the back of that news, but all of that perspective given by Mr. Chaturvedi seems to suggest that it's not as bad as the market seems to be reacting on some of these counters. But let me quickly take it across. Welcome both our guests on this show. We have Vijay Chopra, who's the MD and CEO Enoch Ventures, and we have Rajesh Palvia as well, who's the Senior VP Technical and Derivatives Research at Axis. Rajesh, let me come to you first. Markets volatile. What's your sense at this point?
So generally, this is the common phenomena especially on weekly expiry days. Yesterday, we seen again volatility due to Bank Nifty expiry, weekly option expiry, and today it's Nifty weekly option expiry. But looking at the overall structure for market, it's on the bullish side only, as we have protected the important support area of 21,900. That's the major put-based concentration for Nifty. So that level is intact, and again, we have seen pullback action from those levels. Though on the higher side, 22,100, 22,200 are the major call concentration area. So major short covering move will play out only about 22,150 mark. If we able to take out those level on Nifty spot, then we may see another round of short covering action, and then possibly Nifty can scale up to the new all-time high trajectory also. But till the time, we believe that some consolidation is likely to be there in Nifty. On the Bank Nifty, 46,500, that was the major put-based concentration. And again, Bank Nifty took support from those level and pullback action is visible in the today's session. On the higher side, 47,000, 47,200 are the major call concentration area. If we able to take out those level in this pullback, then possible short covering we can see towards 47,600 to 47,800. So both indices are holding the ground based on their important support area for near-term trend. So trend is likely to remain on the bullish side, and towards the end of this Fab series, we expect this momentum can extend, and maybe again we can see Nifty to scale up to new all-time high trajectory also in the continuation of this uptrend.
Sure, Rajesh. Vijay, if I can come to you, we just had a chat with Atul Chaturvedi to try and understand sugar better. I'm not sure if you had a chance to, listen in on a piece of that. But your sense with regard to this, this change in the sugar space, if you can give us some of your thoughts on what you feel.
Well, I think that there are a lot of turbulences as far as the sugar sector goes. First they had a ruling on ethanol. Now they are increasing the MSP. This is primarily political in nature. But yes, I think I just heard a couple of sentences from you. I joined in the midst of that interview that the input cost is going to go up. And Mr. Chaturvedi was iterating that, we have a crushing season in October. So it is, we have a lot of time, almost about 7-8 months to go. So during this time, probably they have confidence that something else would come up, or they might do some kind of a I would say miracle where sugar companies will start making money. Definitely in the last 4-5 years, sugar companies due to ethanol have completely changed their balance sheets. Gone are the days when they were deep in red. But now I think that this new ruling and the increase in MSP of farmers definitely would hurt the balance sheets, especially the bottom lines. So let's see how this works out. Overall, I think that sugar prices have gone up in the open market as well, in the global markets as well, and the retail prices have gone up. So the pressure has been passed on to the end customer. Today, sugar, you want to buy sugar, it is about 50-51 rupees a kg. While 2-3 years back it was about 38-37. So there's a huge increase in the sugar prices which has been passed on to the end customer. I think this would also be passed on to the end customer. Why would any company take the brunt? So overall, I think that it's in the consumption theme, and companies would definitely come out of this these woods, and they would do definitely something to bring down their costs or pass on the cost to the end customer.
Right, absolutely. So, you saw that confidence in what the Sri Renuka Sugar Management was saying, that this FRP change is going to be implemented only by October of this year, and by that time he is expecting the MSP, or the minimum selling price, to also be at par and everything to be passed on. But there are a whole lot of stories that we want to cover on this show today. We're going to be talking about what 100% FDI in space sector actually means. We'll be having a conversation with the Walchand Nagar management in just a bit. We have to talk about the whole paints business and what's happening there with Grasim's entry with the Opus brand. What does it mean for Asian Paints? All of that after a very short break. Stay tuned. Bank Nifty showing a spot of weakness just a bit before close in markets today. But, I would say a decent recovery from the day's lows on the Nifty. Look at that chart, 0.5% up. Not quite at the day's highs, but closing in on it. So the last bit of trade, last about 30 minutes odd of trade, doesn't seem to be too negative. One sector which is definitely in focus today is because of a cabinet discussion or a cabinet announcement, more or less, which sees FDI norms easing in the space sector. Now, there are certain categories where 100% FDI has been allowed via the automatic route. It already existed via the government route, but now even without government approval, you can have 100% automatic FDI in satellite system manufacturing, ground and user segment, 74% automatic FDI in satellite manufacturing and data products, and 49% in launch vehicles and space ports. You've seen a whole host of companies in the space jump up today as a result of this, including Walchand. And we're speaking now with Mr. Chirag Doshi. He's the MD and CEO of Walchand Nagar Industries. Mr. Doshi, very good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today on NDTV Profit. Just want to get a sense from you where the opportunities lie here for the private sector and for your company.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. I think this cabinet decision has brought a lot of clarity to the opportunities that exist in the space sector. I think there are certain areas that Walchand Nagar focuses on, which is launch vehicles, where they've capped it at 49%, because that's a very critical part of the entire space ecosystem. And I think with government approvals, we can, of course, take that beyond 49. But for satellite communication equipment and some of the more sort of component level equipment, they've even gone all the way up to 100%. So I think the first thing was we needed clarity, which we've now got. And I think now that gives us the opportunity to go out there and look for foreign investors who see the potential in the space program to actually come in and commit some funds for private expansion, as the government itself is keen on.
Right, and so if Harsh also joining in, trying to get perspective, what's the kind of interest that's there from foreign investors into investing in a space like this? You, of course, will have your ear very close to the ground, but even outside of Walchand Nagar, is there a lot of foreign investor interest in this space?
Yeah, so Harsh, you're right. I mean, as part of founding members of ISPA, we also get the opportunity to deal, and I personally get the opportunity to deal with a lot of startups. And I think they were the ones who were really having a hard time trying to get clarity on where they could raise funds from, and to get foreign investors excited about wanting to invest in their businesses at a component level or at a sort of a satellite as a service level. And I think that clarity now gives the startup ecosystem a huge opportunity to really get foreign funds excited about India's entry and growth into the space sector. As far as established companies like Walchand Nagar are concerned, we already have investment in our public entity. And so, yes, it will probably create the opportunity for us to get a new group of investors. But I think the startup ecosystem is really going to get a boost from these decisions.
Give us a sense on what exactly from these categories which have seen FDI loosened up will see the most interest, and how would it benefit a Walchand Nagar, for example?
Yeah, so I think the number one area is people. There was the telecom regulatory authority that also came up with its judgments on spectrum auctioning and or non-auctioning now. But I think the satellite ecosystem for both telecommunication usage as well as for geo surveillance is going to get an incredible boost. We already know that India is one of the cheapest places to launch satellites from, and therefore I think as a result of the growth that's going to come from the satellite sector, India's privatization of PSLV, SSLV, and ultimately GSLV, I think that entire upstream value chain is going to get a big boost in the next 3, 4, 5 years to come.
Definitely a space to watch out for. Thank you so much, Chirag Doshi, for speaking with us. He's MD and CEO of Walchand Nagar. That stock up about 5% today. In fact, the entire space, Inamdar, Mishra Dhatu, all of them are doing very well on the back of that. That's really, in a sense, the new frontier, every sense of the way. Let's just pull up what's happening with your telecom companies. Data was out for the month of December, and we could see some of those statistics. You saw them on your screens as well, where you had user numbers out for the month of December. So net additions were 4.32 million users, up from November at 3.18. Reliance Jio net added about 3.99 million users versus 3.45. Let's look at what Idea did. Net loss was 13.7 lakh users versus a loss of 10.7. So that has actually deepened, no difference that is making to Vodafone, really. But, a lot of speculation around Vodafone separately as well, where there was one note which said that Hindalco may use some of those proceeds from the Novelis IPO to revive Vodafone Idea. I'm not sure if they're going to do it, but perhaps that's what's boosting the stock as well. Bharti Airtel is something we should look at very quickly. Net additions have grown, not massively to be honest, 18.5 lakh users versus 17.5 lakh users in November. Let me just quickly go across to our analysts for the day, Rajesh Palavia and Vijay Chopra still with us. Rajesh, anything in the telecom stack or space that you track?
I think after this corrective move, Bharti is now recovering from its day low, and looking at the overall structure, the stock is in bullish trajectory across all time frame. The stock is now approaching to its 20-day moving average. If at all stock manages to cross above 1150 mark, then it may continue its uptrend, and then possibly we can see again all-time high trajectory for Bharti Airtel. So overall structure is bullish in this volatile market. One should use this decline as a buying opportunity. We believe that going forward we can see target towards 1200 to 1240 on the Bharti Airtel. So one can look to buy this stock with stop loss of 1080.
All right, speaking about this space, and of course, we mentioned Vodafone Idea. Right now, Kumar Mangalam Birla is at a press conference in Panipat, where he's talking about Grasim's latest foray, this time into the paints business. They say they're going to add 40% industry capacity and want to reach a revenue goal of 10,000 crore rupees in the next 3 years. Remember, there's already one very dominant player in this business. Let's listen in to what Kumar Mangalam Birla is saying.
An affinity with the dealers, the dealer network. You saw many of them over here. They've been our partners for, like I said, 30-40 years, and that's our right to win, one of our rights to win, which is what made us look at this industry. I don't think that we're looking at synergies with any other business. I think this is a strong enough synergy, and I think the fact that we've been able to sign up 3,000 plus dealers even before we've started to sell, I think is a huge testament to that.
Sir, Tarun from Z Business, sir. Sir, there are two questions. First on, is there any plan to bundle with the cement and paints? Will you give
No, none at all.
Not at all. Secondly, sir, can we, you are talking about the decorative paint segment. Do you have any plan to enter into industry and as well as the commercial part of that?
No, there is no plan at this point of time.
Just follow up on, being the second largest player by the end of 3 years. Paint is also a valuation driver from a stock market standpoint. Would you at some point look to demerge the paint business and unlock value there?
No. We're just about launching and just creating a new division in resin. We've really not got any thoughts about demerging. I don't think that that's in the offing at all.
So I think, as I mentioned, our focus is our pricing will be consumer centric, and there'll be assurance written all across the consumer. Consumer for us, the first and foremost frontier that we have to win the hearts of consumers. We have to reach this paint into homes of consumers, and our belief is that at the bottom end of the pyramid, there is a crazy battle But at the top end of the pyramid, the luxury and premium end, which is where India is going, there is hardly any options available for consumers. The quality of products that we have designed allows us to be able to focus in a large way on the luxury and the premium end of the consumers. And we will make sure that consumers love us at that end.
सर मैं आलोक प्रियदर्शी हूँ CNBC आवाज से। सर मेरा सवाल है कि आपने अपने स्पीच में एस्पिरेशनल क्लास की बात की थी कि एस्पिरेशनल क्लास और खासतौर से हाउसिंग सेक्टर का ग्रोथ काफी अच्छा जा रहा है। तो मैं बताना चाहता हूँ कि एस्पिरेशनल क्लास प्राइस सेंसिटिव भी काफी होता है, हालांकि वो कोशिश ये भी करता है कि वो लग्जरी सेगमेंट की तरफ मूव करे। तो क्या कंपनी के पास प्राइसिंग को लेकर ऐसी कोई योजना है या कोई ऐसी प्लानिंग है कि जो ये एस्पिरेशनल क्लास को लग्जरी की तरफ मूव किया जा सके, या कोई फाइनेंशियल कोई स्कीम या कुछ ऐसा हो?
तो देखिए, पहली बात तो ये है कि हमारे जितने प्रोडक्ट्स आ रहे हैं लग्जरी, प्रीमियम और इकोनॉमी, अगर आप इकोनॉमी के भी प्रोडक्ट्स को देखें, जो पेंटरों और कॉन्ट्रैक्टरों ने उन्हें यूज़ करके देखा है वो बोलते हैं कि ये तो हमें प्रीमियम प्रोडक्ट के जैसा लग रहा है। तो क्वालिटी काफ़ी अच्छी है। तो हमें तो ये लगता है कि जो लोग डिस्टेम्पर कैटेगरी वाले भी हैं वो इकोनॉमी रेंज में अपग्रेड कर जाएंगे, और जो इकोनॉमी वाले हैं उनको प्रीमियम वाली फिनिश मिलेगी उसमें।
Right, let me quickly mark out some stocks here. You look at the likes of an Indigo Paints down 2.5%, AkzoNobel down 1+% in trade. So you're seeing a bit of that launch taking some bit of steam out of some of the paint companies. And we'll talk more about that on the other side of this very short break. Also, buy now, buy today, sell tomorrow ideas, F&O Qs, we'll look at the whole hog.
Welcome back. Smart recovery in the markets. Nifty, closing in on the 22,200 mark, up about 141 points. But the IT pack are the winners of this afternoon, undoubtedly. Look at an HCL Tech, up in trade about 3%. At TCS, Wipro, Tech Mahindra, the entire lot of them having a good afternoon. But what's happening in the F&O space? Agam, I suppose there are quite a few people who are not having a good afternoon looking at the recovery in the Nifty.
No, certainly not. Tamanna, what's really happened is that sharp recovery in the Nifty has led to a lot of call writers running for cover. And at one point in time, when it comes to just today's day of trade, well, there were nearly 4 calls written for every 1 put written, which means that there is a significant amount of people out there who are traders out there who have written those calls and have been completely forced out of their positions, and that's evident in the kind of up move that we've seen in the last half an hour of trade. For the Nifty now back above the mark of 22,200, and that was a highly improbable level, at least earlier in the morning, to have achieved that, because do remember that at one point in time we were testing 21,900. So that recovery has certainly taken a lot of traders by surprise. That said, that's evident in the futures addition in open interest as well, nearly 5% added there. Let's talk about the Bank Nifty and see how things go. And we are looking at a near 0.25% cut there. So this does seem like an expiry move on the Nifty, not so much about the recovery in the broader markets. And of course, the Bank Nifty is seeing some amount of longs unwinding coming through as well. Now, I'm going to talk about the options market. And this is where, as I was telling you earlier, we had a significant amount of positions around 22,200, and it does seem like the Nifty at the moment is currently trading about that, which means the whole lot of the calls written around 20,000, 20,100, well, all of those calls will be forced to be unwound, and perhaps not on desirable premiums for all those who have sold those particular options. Put writers, of course, on the other hand, are certainly making a reasonably good day of trade, especially when the start was very bad. Do remember that we saw a sharp cut as far as the Nifty is concerned earlier on in the session. And moving on to how things have panned out in today's day of trade. We need to move. We have this isn't the correct picture. Naturally, we're starting to see a lot more put writing through the course or the latter half of the session. But let's talk about stocks then. And that's where we, in fact, do have longs in Indian Hotel and ABB. ABB moving up another 9%. So moving from strength to strength. Kotak Mahindra Bank, Jubilant FoodWorks and Grasim, on the other hand, under a tad bit of pressure. And as far as your OI losers are concerned, we're looking at short covering in Ashok Leyland, RBL Bank, REC, NTPC and Tata Communications. In the earlier slide, we have Grasim, where it's very interesting that while the underlying hasn't moved substantially, we are not only seeing considerable amount of volumes in the cash market, but also an addition in open interest as far as futures go. So if we could just pull up the earlier slide and very quickly take a look at Grasim. So there you have, that's where Grasim is. It's actually declining by, or rather advancing by less than 1%, less than 0.5%. So it will be interesting as to in which direction are these traders and, well, a lot of these other investors are building their positions as far as Grasim is concerned. But as far as the Nifty goes, well, a surprise move in the last 1 hour of trade.
Yep.
Perfect, Agam. Thank you for that. While he was speaking about Grasim, interesting thoughts coming through. Let me take it to Rajesh as well, taking his views with regard to both Grasim as well as the larger paint sector. How is it looking on charts, on technicals, Rajesh?
So Grasim is now breaking out its consolidation zone on the daily as well as on the weekly chart. So looking at the overall structure, Grasim is looking positive, and we believe that if the stocks holds about 2160 level, then possible upside target we can see towards 2250 to 2300 in the continuation of this up move. So overall, stock is moving in upsloping channel. So I think one should hold their long position, and possibly we can see this uptrend is likely to continue further. If we talk about other paint stock like Asian Paint, so there is a pressure still in the Asian Paint, and the stock is consolidating at the lower band of this down move which we have witnessed in last couple of month. So for Asian Paint, the major hurdle at this moment is around 3060. Until the stock not crosses those level, it may remain in the consolidation for some more time. So I think Grasim is well placed. One should look to buy that stock, and we can see a momentum to continue in short-term basis for Grasim.
This whole Grasim versus Asian Paints kind of narrative, I would say, and also because the companies pitched it that way, that we want to become the second largest player, 40% capacity addition, 10,000 crore revenue, target in the next 3 years. And in fact, they want to exit year one with double-digit market share. Vijay Chopra, is it doable? Can an Opus challenge an Asian Paints in the market?
Well, challenge, yes. Possible, I would say likely. It would be difficult though. Getting a double-digit growth in year one. They are Aditya Vikram Birla. They can definitely, have. They have the distribution channel in place due to their cement business. But again, to topple down Asian Paints, I think that definitely is going to be a challenge. Because Asian Paints has its deep inroads already, and so although I think that competition is always good for the industry, good for the customer, maybe the pricing, there would be price wars and the pricing would come down. This is quite likely. But all said and done, I think that I would buy an Asian Paint around here, at around 3,000 odd, rather than going for a Grasim for paint business, because Asian Paint definitely has corrected. From the top of close to about 3,600, it is available at about 3,600 rupees, gone from the top. So I would say valuation-wise, Asian Paint also looks very enticing. And if somebody wants to buy for a longer-term perspective, let's buy Asian Paints, nibble into Asian Paints. As far as Grasim is concerned, yes, they are quite aggressive. They have to give aggressive numbers, otherwise the street won't accept it at all. At this stage, if they are getting into a new business, so they have to they put all their, they have to go full throttle in case they want to achieve those numbers. But that time would tell whether they are able to achieve or not. But yes, I would recommend a buying on Asian Paint rather than Grasim, especially for the paints business.
Understood, Vijay. And Vijay, just very quickly with regard to the structural story in paints, some of these valuations that we are seeing on some of these paint stocks, 40 plus earnings multiples that we are seeing. Structurally, does the story change? Do margins change? I know crude is stable, and which is a big positive, but over the longer term, it's not going to be likely. That's what history tells us. But structurally, do you see the story seems to have changed in terms of pricing as well as margins for some of these companies?
Well, I think the margins are huge because the price increase has been passed on to the customer. When the crude prices have come down, paint prices haven't come down at all. So there are margins for sure, and that's the reason why a behemoth like a Birla company is getting into paints business, and in such a huge way. So, but again, it would take time for them to establish. It's not easy to establish a brand in the minds of people. We talk a lot over TV shows and we know what's happening, but the scores of Indians, billions of Indians, who have Asian Paints right on their tongue, they go to a shop, they will ask for an Asian Paint. So I think that it would take some time before people accept it and the top of the mind recall happens. So I think this business is good, great, with the housing market increasing, with the real estate market increasing, and the size is increasing. A lot of infra stuff is happening across India. I think next 20 years, we're going to see a lot of infra development happening. So paints goes along with infra and housing, and of course, automobile. So all these three sectors are great consumers of paint. So the paint story is intact. Yes, there would be a price war for sure. If, as I said earlier, that it's going to be good for the customer will get a good product at a better price, I guess so.
You know, I'm just asking, and I'm just actually chatting with my colleague Sajit Mangat, who's in Panipat right now and covering that press conference. And this is exactly what I asked him. What's the pricing going to be like? Are we going to see a price war? So pricing is going to be released in the first week of March, is what he tells us. And it will be based in the less for more coverage. As I understand that, that means it will have to be competitive. And that's what we will see. You will see some sort of a price war. The question is where it would pan out. So, you know, that's the whole paint story, but there's so much more happening in the market today. And I just want to focus on a small cap called Pratap Snacks. There was a report this morning in the newspapers that says that ITC could be eyeing a pie, or I would say a bite, of Pratap Snacks. The stock surged massively over the day. Nearly 14% at one point. It's pared down now, up about 3% even so. But the story is that ITC is possibly buying 47% stake in the company through a venture fund. Mahima is joining us with more. Mahima, interesting to understand why ITC would be interested in Pratap Snacks.
Right, Tamanna, so as you rightly mentioned that ITC might look for a bite in Pratap Snacks. Well, as you rightly mentioned, it might acquire 47%. Now, why is this? I mean, this could be a strategic step by ITC to expand its presence in regional markets. One, because Pratap Snacks is spread over in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And also, if we check the trajectory of how the revenues of Pratap Snacks have been by, well, Pratap Snacks revenues somewhere in FY23 stood at 1,600 crores, and if we talk about ITC's FMCG sector, it was around 19,000 crores. So this forms approximately 8 to 10% of its revenue. So overall, Pratap Snacks will add over 8 to 10% revenue to the ITC's FMCG segment. And if we talk about the net profits, the bottom line of Pratap Snacks is nearly 20 crores. So the revenues, however, will add 8 to 10%, but net profit, the bottom line addition won't be very significant. However, also this is very important because this has happened after when Pratap Snacks was actually eyeing to acquire Haldiram, and this did not happen because of the high valuations. And also a very important thing to note here is that this would trigger an open offer of additional 26%. So at present, this is all we have on Pratap Snacks and ITC, but let's see how it pans out to be once the press release comes out.
So there's been nothing official on it. I just want to pull up the day chart for Pratap. ITC doing very well. I mean, if the size of ITC pushes up to 2.5%, then you have a superb thing. By the way, just let's not lose focus of the big picture here. Nifty is at a record high, 22,233. Look at the way that index has moved through the day. The last 20 minutes has been the game changer. Hasn't it? And, you know, we must get a technical view on that as well. What do you think is going on in the market right now is the big question, Rajesh?
So broad-based rallies taking place, and most of the large cap stocks which were consolidating since last couple of trading sessions now are given the breakout. And short covering action is clearly visible in most of the call writers for 22,200, 22,300 strike is also witnessing call unwinding. So that clearly short covering is taking place on the Nifty. And I think this short covering can continue further as most of the call writers were confident since last 2-3 trading session that the market won't be able to take out this 22,200, 300 zone. But the kind of rally which we are seeing in the most of the large cap stock, that clearly shows that this really can extend further, and towards the end of this FAB series, we can see further more higher level from here onward. So I think this rally can extend for tomorrow also. One should now trail their stop loss towards 22,100 to hold their long position.
Hold your long positions right now, you know, with the kind of up move you've seen. Rajesh, any views on Nifty IT and Bank Nifty? I mean, divergent views. Nifty Bank also really recovering, I must say, but Nifty IT up 2% today. Any views on both these indices?
Yeah, Nifty Bank is also showing some kind of, short covering action, but still the important level which we are keeping an eye, that is 47,000, 47,200. These two levels are very important and critical on Bank Nifty spot. Until these levels not taken out, Bank Nifty may remain in consolidation because still the pressure is there from HDFC Bank and some of the large cap banks are still not contributing to this up move. So Bank Nifty may remain for consolidation for some time, but Nifty is clearly outperforming. If you talk about the Nifty IT, that is also showing good traction and the kind of buying interest which we are seeing in most of the large cap IT stocks, that clearly shows Nifty IT can scale up further higher, and possibly we can see a level of 38,500 to 600 for Nifty IT. So I think stock like HCL Tech, Tech Mahindra and TCS, these three stocks are looking promising at this moment, and I think even Wipro is also looking promising. So I think these IT stocks may contribute to this Nifty IT, and possible one should look to buy this stock as we see that near-term setup is positive for HCL Tech, Tech Mahindra and Wipro.
Right. IT, of course, in focus. We continue to build on all-time highs. But let me quickly have a look at where sectorally we are at. And what you'll see is broadly all sectors pretty much in the green, except the Nifty Bank, around 0.1% lower. So slight negative bias there on that one. But outside of that, just look at some of the gains that we've posted. And from the bottom, we've really seen a strong rebound across sectors. But let me again take it to the FMCG pack. Vijay, plenty of action happening with regard to consolidation. We've seen several purchases made by the likes of a Tata Consumer. The larger ones really pulling out their shopping basket and doing their shopping. ITC and Pratap Snacks, your view, is this firstly doable? And secondly, what is the kind of synergy? What do each of the companies get? Because for now, both of them are 3% higher.
So first things first, you talked about synergy. I think that ITC has a large brand called Bingo, in which they have the likes of whatever, Pratap is making. I think a lot of products Bingo has also launched. And Bingo has, spread its wings over the last 10 years. Wherein, I think that it is one of the preferred brands today as compared to, the likes of Haldiram's or whoever is there in the market. So apart from Bingo, they have Sunfeast where they have a lot of biscuits and stuff. So I think that there might be certain local pockets or regional pockets where Diamond or, Pratap Snacks is strong. I'm sure that, Maharashtra, Gujarat, they are very strong. So probably those markets ITC wants to capture. And there are times when bigger companies take over smaller companies and they quash the brand completely. So it might be a case, Samsonite and Aristocrat, these are classic examples. So I would say that synergies definitely lie because they are in the same industry, and ITC definitely wants to have a larger share of the pie. So who knows that they take over, Pratap Snacks completely. But again, I've not been confirmed through official channels. This is just a news going around. ITC has not confirmed as yet, but let's see. If at all it happens, I would say that they would definitely want Pratap Snacks or Diamond to be a much smaller brand than theirs. So that's one. Secondly, you were talking about FMCG companies. I think that, there's a lot of hoopla around the valuation part of FMCG companies. Look at ITC. I think that it's at mouth-watering levels. Look at HUL, Dabur. These are great companies to latch onto with a longer-term perspective. No problem at all. I think that we're going to have a normal monsoon this year as well. Interest rates seemingly, last night we had a commentary from US, and even our RBI governor is talking about bringing the interest rates down. This would definitely cheer up the market to a great extent. Inflation has been more or less in control in India. So the inflationary pressures due to which the input costs were going high for FMCG companies. So I think that's more or less in control. So FMCG should rebound. So my top picks would be definitely HUL, Dabur, ITC and Tata Consumer.
Got it. Okay. Thank you so much, Vijay. I'm sorry I'm going to have to cut you off, but if I can come back to Rajesh. Rajesh, your very quickly buy today, sell tomorrow ideas.
So first one is Bharat Electronics. We are expecting target of 205 for BTST point of view. Keep stop loss of 192. Second stock is Eicher Motor. stock is rebounding from its 20-day moving average. We are projecting target towards 4,050. Keep your stop loss at 39.10. And the third stock is Geo Financial. That stock is also breaking out of consolidation. So we expect this rally can extend towards 315 to 320. So Geo Financial is buy with stop loss of 297.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Rajesh, and of course, Vijay, for joining us. But let's turn focus to the last couple of minutes before close. And what a closing it has been. New levels have been breached on the Nifty. Look at that number, 22,223. In fact, 22,250 has been reached for the first time on the Nifty. And all of this, I would say, in the last half hour or so. We should actually pull up the line chart to get a line graph to understand what the day has been like and how things have changed so dramatically just in the last bit of trade for the markets. Complete, rock and roll kind of show right in the end. What has pushed the markets up? It's the IT stocks all the way. A surge in the last 20 odd minutes or so in the Nifty IT as well. You can see 2% up, but if you look at the heat map, you'll get a clearer idea of what has been boosting the markets. Suffice to say that all of the stocks which were firing at the start of the day did not really make it to the end. Coal India has jumped right in the end, up about 3.5% during close. Bajaj Auto, stellar run continues. iShares, it's also the BTST idea that Rajesh Palavia gave us. ITC on the back of a news report on maybe inorganic expansion, but all of it in HCL Tech, TCS, all of them doing fabulously. And Indus seeing a bout of profit booking, but it's not just an Indus story. Whether it's an HDFC Bank, a Kotak Mahindra, and SBI, all of them seeing a bit of pain, but more green definitely on the screen rather than red today. Just BPCL again showing signs of pain. I want to quickly see if we can check what the other OMCs did at close, either an HPCL or an IOC, because that was the recurrent theme. And did they really do any better because of the way markets zoomed? Not really. HPCL also down, as is BPCL and IOC as well. So that pain continues. But the broader market's doing even better. So this is a broad-based story today, Harsh, and something has changed in that last half hour.
Absolutely. Let's look at the advanced decline as well. And what you'll see is it's extremely interesting the way the day has progressed. There you go. Look at the fag end here, Tamanna. And what we're seeing is a dramatic reversal. So definitely we take home the goods. It's a positive day. But let's quickly shift focus to the broader markets. Let's look at the Nifty mid-cap in terms of where it stands. There we go, 1% higher on the Nifty mid-cap. Pretty much the Nifty mid-cap has moved along with the benchmark today. So as the benchmark has recovered, the mid-cap index has recovered as well. There you go, the Nifty small-cap 0.6% higher as well. Let's look at some specific names. Tons of them, Tamanna, in trade today. Let's start off with an ABB, which was stock of the day yesterday. Continues to rule the roost, if I can call it. 2 days in a row. I think between the 2 days, up about maybe 18-19%. Yes. Nearly 20% higher over the 2-day period. And that one is, of course, on the card. South Indian Bank being a solid performer in trade today. 9.5% higher on that one as well. You had NBCC, Salasa, Techno, Home First, all of which are doing very, very well as we close out the day. But let me focus in on some of the other names. Let's pull up something like an MTAR. Let's pull up something like a Midhani. They've also done fairly well on the back of specific news.
So then we should see our sugar, how our sugar bunch ended at the end of it. Shri Renuka,
Bajaj Hindustan, if we can pull that one
up.
All
of them down in the red.
Correct.
So the themes were very clear. Bad day for sugar, great day for anything linked to space, even defense to that extent. Grasim and Asian Paints in the news for various reasons, so is ITC. But all of those are spots of what you've seen in the market. The overall trend towards the end, the mood has completely changed, and you have seen a fabulous close at 22,217. We have to wrap this show. So from Harsh, me and the entire team that puts together India Market Close, thank you so much for joining us. But stay tuned, a lot more coming up on the other side.